Chapter 11. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Buying Frenzy. Mrs. Tang, who was in charge of purchases at the market, also sent a voice message. Chenya is such a thoughtful child. Should we remind her to store more food? Oh, never mind. I've asked someone to kill 500 pigs and 1,000 chickens. I'll send them to the villa later. What else do you want? Everyone immediately forgot about this and ordered chickens, ducks, fish, and even seafood and birds. They were all bought in thousands. Most of them were butchered and processed for easy cooking, and some were left alive to be used as seeds. They were kept in the special space of Tang Susu's backpack. Because she didn't have money, she only bought the cheapest exclusive space available. The space was limited, and one grid could only hold 2 animals of the same kind. Hence, she only put 1 male and 1 female. Compared to the other supplies, which were inanimate objects, the animals in the small grids were like moving GIFs, repeating a single action. They didn't need to eat, drink, or poop. They were put in and removed in the same way. If they wanted to raise and reproduce, they had to be placed outside, or one had to spend a sky-high price to buy a farm. Tang Susu bought 50 boxes in total. The next day, she followed Mrs. Tang and gathered 50 types of common edible animals from the sea, land, and sky. She also bought a lot of vegetables, fruit, flower, and tree seeds from the seed store, which were all classified as others in her backpack. Although there were many things in the material store, there were no living things for sale. Moreover, they were short of food, so they could only buy it after leveling up. It was all very troublesome, so it was better if it was bought in the real world to avoid suspicion. When she was buying the seeds, Mrs. Tang didn't dare to waste any more time and continued to run the show at the large market nearby like a wealthy heir. In the past, she had to add 2 scallions to a handful of cabbages. Now, she could finally experience the feeling of spending money like it was dirt. This, and that, I want all the vegetables in your stall. You're giving me 500 roast ducks on the spot. Are you joking? Give me 1,000 more braised chickens. Make them all in a few days and send them to this place. Mrs. Tang gave the address and went to another area. I'd like the sauce over there too. It's delicious when you dip mantou into it. Give me 100 buckets. Pack the salted vegetables as well. Forget it. Just give me 50 buckets of each. With such a big move, everyone who saw her would ask why she bought so many. Mrs. Tang told everyone that there was going to be a big problem soon, so they needed to stock up. Everyone thought that this was too much. After that, Tang Susu and Mrs. Tang reported the progress in the group chat. Mr. Tang immediately sent him a message, saying that he had spent a lot of effort in the past 2 days to get a big truck of medicine. In addition to external injury medicine, anti-inflammatory medicine, cold medicine, diarrhea medicine, and some special first aid kits, there were also various special medicines. Medicine for common chronic diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressure, as well as antibiotics, penicillin, alcohol, iodophor, and saline, were also prepared. Tang Mingzhou expressed that it was still too little and asked Mr. Tang to continue thinking of ways to get another car. After he sold the house, he took his 2 younger brothers to the clothing store and the sports store to buy light and warm clothes, jackets, sportswear, sports shoes, and all kinds of survival equipment. When she got home that night, Tang Susu organized the various delicacies she had bought from the street yesterday. There were about 1,000 portions, but it was still not enough. After dinner, the family sat on the sofa to review their purchases while using their phone's takeaway app to order some food. The pace was tense but orderly. Tang Susu watched as the people brainstormed together. It was much more perfect than when she had been storing supplies. Most importantly, this feeling of having the whole family working together warmed her heart every time. After that, Mr. Tang spent another 2 days collecting a large truck of medicine, then turned to weapons and tools. As he had been running a fighting equipment store for more than 10 years, he was the person who knew these things the best. Tang Susu followed him and drove to a small county in the neighboring province. There was an old master who was very good at making knives. It was said that he was some kind of inheritor. He had a strange temper and didn't say much, but the weapons he produced were all exquisite. Even Tang Susu, who didn't know anything about weapons, knew that it was good. They bought some things that weren't available locally on the way back. By the time they returned, it was already the 6th night. P.S. As for why the female lead didn't immediately remind her family of the threat that the original female lead posed to them in the plot, the related story will gradually be introduced and explained later. Don't be anxious, everyone. It's definitely not torture, but satisfaction. The female lead knows it in her heart, but some things have to be done step by step. Chapter 12. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Hacker invasion. High alert. Mrs. Tang bought a lot of rice, flour, oil, and drinking water these days. Although Tang Susu had prepared a lot, she still bought as much as she wanted. Her brothers brought back hundreds of barrels of gasoline which powered the car and generators. Of course, they had also prepared generators. 2 small ones were enough for home use, and 1 large one was enough for a middle school. However, such a complex machine needed diesel to run, and they had to buy it tomorrow. In addition, they also rented a few cars, motorcycles, off-road vehicles, SUVs, even larger MPVs, and even an RV. If they knew how to fly, they would have gotten a helicopter. The 10 million yuan was gone, and her brothers seemed to have borrowed money. Tang Susu didn't have the time to ask for details. They protected her out of habit and forced her to stay at home, forbidding her from leaving. With 1 day left, and only the finishing touches to be done, everyone did not feel the slightest bit relaxed. Because as they prepared more and more resources, the apocalypse was approaching with an unstoppable momentum. On the 7th day, Tang Susu woke up naturally. When she turned on the TV, she saw that it was broadcasting the "mauled by a beast" incident. On the chaotic street, a few pixelated unknown beings roared and pounced at the humans. A group of people screamed and ran around, and soon there was a stampede. The news focused on the stampede, but the existence of the so-called beast was blurred out through pixels. The police will be here soon and take control of the situation. Citizens, there is no need to panic or believe in rumors. There were many discussions on the internet, but in the blink of an eye, the related topics quickly disappeared. The terrifying truth was only spread among a small number of people. Tang Susu lowered her eyes and seemed to have made up her mind. She went to Tang Mingqi's room and turned on his computer. Since the verbal notice seemed like a joke, then she would simply make it bigger. Half an hour later, she flooded the entire internet with a virus and restored the blocked messages. Suspected to be infected by an unknown virus and turned into a living dead in the blink of an eye. Horror movie, image, zombies are attacking. They devour human flesh and blood. They are extremely contagious. Is this the end of humanity? Image, abnormal crust movement, large-scale earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, and other disasters occurred all over the world. The Pacific Ocean rose by more than 2,000 meters. A strange species has appeared in the infectious disease hospital. It bites and is bloodthirsty. There are no countermeasures, so we can only imprison them by force. Almost at the same time, all the people in the country who were using computers felt their vision go black. Before they could cry out, a huge bright red exclamation mark appeared in the middle of the screen. It flashed 3 times. A line of red words was accompanied by a scalp-numbing alarm. Attention, an unpredictable disaster is coming. Please be prepared. Attention, an unpredictable disaster is coming. Please be prepared. Attention, an unpredictable disaster is coming. Please be prepared. It was broadcasted 3 times in a row, and the alarm continued to sound, frightening everyone. Everyone, don't panic. It's a virus. It's a prank by a hacker. Before he finished speaking, someone cried out, "Quick, look at the news. Oh my God, what's going on? It's not just our company, but all the computers in the country have been hacked." An ominous premonition began to spread in their hearts. Why should I do that? Could it be the trick of the enemy? This hacker probably doesn't want to live anymore. If he's caught, he might be shot to death. That's uncertain. If she can hack into all the computers in the country, she might be on a covert mission sanctioned by the authorities. Before they could make any headway, they, who had been paying attention to the latest news, soon found that several shocking headlines had made it to the hot search. With a bang, everyone in the company exploded like boiling water. If this is a joke, then it must really be a bad joke. If it's not a joke then. A young and handsome man quickly walked out of the office. He frowned and waited for a while before the call finally connected. "Ming Zhou, whatever you told me about the day before yesterday. Is it true?" Chapter 13. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Departure, Hidden Danger on the evening of the 4th of June. Jianhua District, Block 7, Room 806. Tang Susu opened the curtains and saw many people running back home. They were carrying many things in their hands and looked panicked and uneasy. A similar scene was playing out over the entire country. She pursed her pink lips. Although this was a game world, it was no longer a game when she entered it. She still didn't want to see people in misery. Even though it was unavoidable. Ding ding. Congratulations to the host for completing Plan B and the Novice Warning mission. You have been rewarded with 80 points. Please continue to work hard. 008, who didn't get a response for a long time, was worried. Host, are you unhappy? Yeah. The building was about to collapse. She absolutely could not let her family get beaten by the apocalypse and end up getting stepped on by everyone. But host, by creating such a big scene, aren't you afraid that someone with ulterior motives might discover you? What are you afraid of? Susu's voice was slightly raised, and her clear eyes were full of confidence. She was certain that no one would be able to catch her within a day. And tomorrow, no one would pay attention to this matter. At the same time, in the capital city, was a mansion in a small forest. The tall and slender figure leaned lazily on the seat, his well-defined hand rubbing his forehead as if he had a headache. In the next second, his thin red lips slowly curved into a thought-provoking arc. A low, magnetic, and sexy voice was heard. "I've found you." At 8:00 in the evening, dark clouds covered the entire city, and it started to drizzle. Mr. and Mrs. Tang packed up the last bit of their luggage and came over. "It's almost time. We should go." The group quickened their pace and went downstairs. They heard faint roars coming from the building in front of them. This time, no one dared to poke their heads out to watch the show. They all hid behind the curtains and peeked carefully. Then, someone with sharp eyes noticed the Tang family members. "Hey, Mr. Qian, it looks like the Tangs are moving out. I heard that they sold their house a few days ago. Did you hear them?" A middle-aged man who was sharpening a knife was stunned and quickly said, "Hurry up and ask them where they're going. There might be a way out if we follow them." Lu Feng hesitated for a moment, then opened the door and went out. Tang Maoping used to be in a rescue team, and almost everyone in the community knew him. A few years ago, there was an earthquake here, and he came out to help evacuate the people. Otherwise, everyone would be like headless flies, not knowing where they were heading. Thus, Tang Maoping was someone they remembered well, and they often asked him for help. However, by the time she ran downstairs, the Tang family's car was only left at the back. "Hey, don't go. Where are you guys going? Stop." Lu Feng was still in her slippers and was desperately chasing after him. However, when she turned a corner, she was frightened by a black shadow and staggered. "Who's there?" That day, when the doctors carried the family from room 906, Lu Feng and her husband happened to see them. They happened to have relatives working in the hospital for infectious diseases, so they told them some things. After that, they were so scared that they didn't dare to go out again. Aunt Lu. A melodious female voice was heard, and a graceful figure walked out. Are you all right? As he asked this, the young girl took a defensive posture and did not approach. So it's you. You're walking so quietly. Are you trying to scare me to death? Lu Feng was so angry that she wanted to curse. Ing Chenya's eyes flickered, and she was about to leave. Hey, Chenya. Why didn't they bring you along? Ing Chenya's expression changed. Who's gone? The Tang family. Aren't your family the most familiar with the Tang family? I see that they usually take care of you and don't forget to take you with them no matter what they do. They couldn't have not told you that they were moving out, right? Lu Feng stared at her. Did they leave? Ing Chenya said absent-mindedly. Then, she forced a smile. I'm not sure. Maybe I wasn't at home. They still have a phone to contact you. Silly child, they're not going to care about you anymore. When your parents were still around, they treated them well, didn't they? Lu Feng growled in anger. They didn't even tell the neighbors before you left. They're so heartless. Wait. Ing Chenya said hesitantly. I don't know if they're there. I think I heard them mention it by accident before. Chapter 14. You are listening at novelfull.audio. An early outbreak. Presently, the Tang family had already driven out of the second ring road and were about to arrive at the villa in the suburbs. They were completely oblivious to the huge problem that was about to haunt them. We have 5 hours before the official outbreak of the apocalypse. Tang Mingchu clicked his tongue. His tone was playful, but there was no smile in his long, narrow eyes. Tang Susu, on the other hand, was leisurely eating her candy. She noticed her brother's gaze and handed it over. Want some? Tang Mingzhou smiled indulgently and helplessly. Since when did you like candy so much? The corners of Susu's mouth curved slightly as she looked at the night market across the road. It was obviously much more deserted than usual, and there were only a few pedestrians who were in a hurry. Suddenly, a woman in a dress fell to the ground with a thud. Seeing this scene, Tang Mingchi's mind went blank for a moment. There's a buzz. A voice that seemed to be able to penetrate one's soul rang out in his ear. The apocalypse has broken out in advance. What? The whole family gasped in shock. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, the passers-by who were crossing the pedestrian crossing fell one by one. Those who had not fallen were all confused. Some even tried to go up and save her. Miss, are you okay? Susu quickly rolled down the car window and shouted at them, don't touch those people. Run. How can you be so selfish and cold-blooded? The person who saved her looked indignant, but then he was overjoyed. Miss, wake up. Zhenzhen. Before he could finish his sentence, the woman who had just woken up opened her mouth and bit his throat. The onlookers were dumbfounded as they watched the woman's delicate face turn gray and ferocious in a short time. Her blood vessels burst, and her pupils disappeared. Roar. One after another, the creatures who had fallen down all got up. Some of the more timid people fell to the ground. What is this? The next second, a tall zombie pounced on him and bit him fiercely. Ah! 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 Help! Heavens! The monster is eating people. Run! In the blink of an eye, his cry for help was drowned out by the impatient gnawing of the zombies. A gentlemanly man took out his phone and pretended to threaten the creature. Don't come here. I'm calling the police. The woman accompanying him saw that he had been pounced on and was so scared that she quickly pushed the zombies on him. Hubby, go away. Ah! With a scream, the light in the woman's eyes froze for a moment. Her chest was pierced through from behind by a zombie's sharp claws, and her heart was dug out in a bloody mess. As soon as these slow creatures touched food, they would chew ferociously like hungry beasts, accompanied by low growls that seemed to be formed from their throats. In the blink of an eye, the people, who were still being eaten, sat up from the ground one after another. Roar, roar. The rest of the people were so scared that they fled as quickly as they could. There were no buildings nearby for them to hide in, so they got into the traffic behind them that had not realized what was going on and patted the car doors crazily. Arg! Quickly open the door, quickly. Let me in. The car owners were furious and confused. Someone had just opened the door when the zombies behind him pounced on him and bit his neck, causing blood to spray out. He looked at the man who had called him in shock and pain as he frantically climbed into his car and then left with a whoosh. At the same time, the same chaos was happening in every corner of the world. At 10:30 p.m. on June 4, 2051, the apocalypse finally begun. Tang Susu's eyes narrowed as she urged, "Let's go." The first-generation zombies spread very quickly. There will be more and more zombies. Oh, oh. Mr. Tang suddenly woke up. As she said this, his feet seemed to have slipped, and he couldn't step on the accelerator. The others weren't any better than him. Bedo Derem at this time, the green light came on again, but only a few of the cars stopped in front of the pedestrian crossing could be driven away. They were either entangled by people, and zombies blocking their way, or, like Mr. Tang, were dumbfounded after seeing a living person being torn apart and swallowed alive. It was bloody and brutal. "Let me do it." As Tang Mingchu spoke, he opened the car door and was about to step out when he was suddenly pushed back by a force. Wham! The door separated them from a creature that pounced over. Roar! The zombie that had almost succeeded roared angrily. Its shriek was ear-piercing. Tang Mingchu broke out in a cold sweat. When they found out who had pushed him back, the whole family was shocked. Susu. Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Emergency escape. Tang Susu bent over to dodge the zombie's claws and took a few steps back. "Open the left door and let Dad in." "Give me the driver's seat, quick," she said. Her coy voice made the entire family's hearts clench. How useless were they to let their bodies protect them at such a critical moment. At this moment, they were all bursting with courage. The whole family complied and moved to the right, making space for Mr. Tang and opening the door on the left. Mr. Tang bent over and sat down, only to hear his second brother shout in surprise. "Close the door." Mr. Tang didn't even think about it and pulled hard. The heavy car door immediately clamped the claws of a zombie. However, this hand with sharp and green nails seemed to feel no pain at all, still eager to grab around. It was ferocious and terrifying. "Dad, let go." Just as they took out their knives and were about to cut this thing, Tang Susu had already walked to the side of the car. Mr. Tang didn't hesitate and immediately released the door. The zombie was about to take the opportunity to pounce on her, but it was kicked to the ground by Susu. "Wow! That was amazing!" Tang Mingchu whistled excitedly. In the next second, the car was like an arrow that was released from a bow, flying out with a buzz. Mrs. Tang, who had been quiet all this time, finally couldn't help but scream. Bang! 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 The group of zombies blocking the pedestrian crossing was knocked flying. In the midst of the broken limbs and debris on the ground, the silver Range Rover was like a lightning bolt, breaking through the heavy black fog and bringing a little light to the night full of killing and death. Very quickly, a car that had been hesitating started up and followed closely behind. Tang Susu skillfully maneuvered the vehicle and nimbly shuttled through the congested and chaotic traffic. Even Mr. Tang, who had been driving for half his life, didn't have such skills. "Watch out! A small truck suddenly appeared in front of them and was driving in the opposite direction at an outrageous speed. The moment they were about to hit each other, Susu turned the steering wheel violently. The wheels slipped and screeched as they rubbed against the ground. Sparks flew everywhere. In the end, he brushed past her in a thrilling manner and flew away. Bang! The small truck crashed into a series of cars behind it, causing a series of accidents. There was an explosion, and the fire quickly lit up the sky. The driver in the car didn't have time to climb out before he was swallowed up by the zombies wandering nearby. The family was still in shock, but when they saw the calm girl in the driver's seat, their pounding hearts calmed down. No one had expected that the weak and delicate Susu, who was the youngest and the one who should be protected the most, would have such energy. The road ahead was empty. There were no cars or zombies that were fighting for human flesh. Only then did Tang Susu agree to let her second brother replace her. Are you tired? Are you hurt? The family surrounded her in the middle. Even Tang Mingchu, who was usually carefree, took her hand seriously and checked her pulse. Why is her heart beating so slowly? Even as normal people, their hearts had been beating more than 100 times after what they had just experienced. Some had heart problems that caused their hearts to beat out of control, which led to ventricular fibrillation. They had been terribly shocked by the violent car trip. How could she be so calm? Tang Susu took out the super heart pill from her backpack. This costs 500,000 yuan each. It can guarantee that I won't have a relapse for 7 days, and I'll be like a normal person. Even a normal person's heart would beat faster, so how calm was she? Mrs. Tang stared at the black pill, tears almost falling from her eyes. Stupid child, why didn't you tell us you had this? We should have left the money for you to buy the medicine. Tang Susu knew it would happen, which was why she said that. This only treats the symptoms but not the root cause. There will be other ways in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, the system's announcement sounded in her mind. Congratulations to the host for accidentally triggering and completing an S.Rank emergency mission. You have been awarded 100 points. Chapter 16. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Combat strength rises to rank. There's such a good thing. As mentioned before, the number and difficulty of the missions were based on the level. As a rank 0.5 weakling, she should wait for the main system to distribute low.rank missions after completing the novice missions. Only after she had completed them and was upgraded could she get more missions with higher rewards. This was something that even 008 could not control. After a long while, 008 said excitedly, the host's non-combat abilities are very strong. Such good things only happen occasionally. This system is still very fair. It seemed that the 500 points she needed to become a normal person were not difficult to earn. Without hesitation, Tang Susu clicked on the screen and used the 187 points in her points bar to level up. After a series of gorgeous light effects, she was left with 87 points. Correspondingly, her combat level changed from 0.5 to 0.4. Susu's body also trembled slightly, and the soreness and sluggishness in her veins disappeared. In everyone's eyes, her pale face seemed to have a little ruddy luster, and her originally dull eyes were less sickly and more bright. Do you have better medicine? Tang Mingzhou's eyes darkened. I don't care how much it costs, as long as I can cure your illness. 008 said impatiently, there are better heart pills that cost 5 million each. As long as you spend 100 points to upgrade your system to rank 1, you can buy them. Tang Susu's heart skipped a beat. Is there any way to completely cure my big brother's leg? After her brother saved Ding Qingya and amputated half of his left leg, he had been in a wheelchair for 4 years. He only got a suitable artificial limb at the beginning of the year, but he was still a little crippled even after the reconstruction. After using it for a long time, he would suffer unimaginable pain. This state could be said to be very dangerous in the apocalypse. The system needed to upgrade its beliefs to rank 3, and it could purchase an interstellar artificial limb for the host. After installation, it would be no different from a real leg, and it might even be better than the real one. Correspondingly, the price was also exorbitant, costing over 100 million yuan. 300 points, 100 million yuan. Dear system, can't you make it a little cheaper? 008 was determined not to be tempted by the host's sweet words. There are also cheap prosthetic legs, ranging from millions to tens of millions, but they have a service period and must be maintained regularly. We're here. Tang Mingqi was on tenterhooks the entire way. Fortunately, as the area became more and more remote, no one came out in the middle of the night, and no zombies were seen. However, before the family got out of the car, they were still tense and alert of their surroundings. 008 took the opportunity to promote itself. After the system was upgraded to level 2, it only needed 10 million to buy a set of zombie detection equipment. I don't need to. Although Tang Susu had a seemingly omnipotent system, she didn't plan to rely on it. In her opinion, she was the most reliable person. Even the interstellar system might fail sometimes, and mastering enough strength was the most important thing. Before she entered the door, Tang Susu seemed to have caught a glimpse of a shadow from the corner of her eye. What's wrong? Let's clean up the area around the villa tomorrow. I'm still a little worried. All right, he said. Tang Mingzhou pinched her tensed little face. Don't worry too much. I'll think of a way. Ouch. That hurts, big brother. That's right. A child should act like a child. Tang Susu's eyes curved slightly. That's right. She was a child with a family now. She was no longer alone. After a simple wash up, she really couldn't stand the tiredness. She lay on the big princess bed that her mother had made for her, stretched her long, white, and tender limbs, and lazily slept. Downstairs, Mr. and Mrs. Tang gathered the 3 children for a family meeting. Chapter 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Killing 10 zombies. You've all seen the changes in Susu. The few of them were silent for a while before Tang Mingqi said, "This is a good thing, but I blame myself. We didn't do a good job, and she became so brave and powerful quickly. The effort she put in must be unimaginable. She was a frail girl without martial arts skills, could not drive, and basically knew nothing. She had always been used to being protected. Hence, they were relieved yet heartbroken when she suddenly became like this. That's why we have to get stronger as soon as possible so Susu can rely on us without worry. The 2 of us will try our best not to be a burden to you." Mrs. Tang thought for a moment. "If it's a critical moment, don't worry about us. Just protect Susu." "Mom." Seeing that the 2 of them were so calm, Tang Mingqiu felt a little uncomfortable. "It'll be fine. Our family will survive this. All right, let's cut the crap. Dad knows that you're all good kids." Mr. Tang patted the handsome young men in earnest. "I don't know if there's any danger near the villa. 3rd brother and I will keep watch for the first half of the night, and eldest and 2nd brother will keep watch for the second half of the night. If there's any movement, wake everyone up immediately. Don't run out alone, understand?" Tang Mingqiu yawned and was the first to stand up. "I'll go and find a weapon." Although they could buy a lot of things in Susu's system, after comparison, they found that it was cheaper to buy things outside. If they couldn't buy things outside, they could buy them in her shop. Therefore, they had prepared a lot of weapons and stored them in the warehouse on the basement floor of the villa. The villa was huge. The next day, the first thing Tang Susu did after breakfast was to visit it. O.org. There were a total of 4 floors, including the basement. It was as grand as a palace. The white marble was as bright as a mirror, and the luxurious European-style wooden stairs led to the 3rd floor. They were all exquisitely decorated, and the style was romantic and elegant, but also dignified. It was in line with the taste of young people like her, and it also accommodated Father and Mother Tang's taste. The whole family couldn't wait to stay here for a long time. The resources were also abundant. This time, they had spent more than 10 million yuan on the items. Besides 2/3 of the items in Tang Susu's backpack, a third was outside. The warehouse covered an area of nearly 300 square meters and was almost filled with rice, flour, oil, pots and pans, clothes, shoes, and all kinds of medicine. There were also daily necessities like walkie-talkies, flashlights, tools for military shovels, blankets, toothbrushes, and towels. Tang Mingqiu had specially ordered his men to build a small cold storage warehouse within 3 days to store the vegetables and meat that could easily go bad. If there was no electricity, there was a generator in the corner, a solar panel, and a converter that converted the stored solar energy to 220V. After Tang Susu walked around, 008 reported, "Congratulations to the host for completing the last novice mission, hoarding supplies. As you have hoarded enough supplies, you will be rewarded with 30 points. The host currently has 117 points. This time, Tang Susu was not in a hurry to upgrade herself. She opened the screen and clicked on the mission. As expected, 2 new missions appeared. The other was a free C.rank mission. It was still a scouting mission, but the scope had been expanded to the entire villa area, and it only rewarded 1 point. Did it have to be so useless? The other was a B.rank mandatory mission, and that was to kill 10 zombies within a day. Reward: 5 points. 008 was afraid that she would quit. In addition to the points awarded for the completion of the mission, you will also get an extra point for every zombie killed, which is 15 points. I'll get 1 point for every zombie I kill in the future. Only before the zombies level up, but the host will also get many points by killing high-level zombies in the later stage. After a month, the zombies would level up. They would be faster, stronger, and more lethal. If she could kill a few hundred ordinary zombies within a month, she would have a chance to recover her body, not to mention the points needed for her brother's artificial limbs. Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Choosing a weapon. Do you have any body-strengthening pills? Although her heart wouldn't hurt, for the time being, Tang Susu still felt that her body was too weak. Even if she had some skills, she could only use 5% of them. When the super heart pill is in effect, it is ill-advised for the host to take other drugs that can accelerate the body's function. Otherwise, the effects of the drugs will offset each other, and the effects will be greatly reduced. It will also have a negative impact on the host. Almost as soon as its childish mechanical voice fell, Tang Susu's heart contracted violently, and she almost died on the spot. She gasped and quickly swallowed another heart pill. There won't be any side effects if you take it alone, right? As long as you don't take it for a long time, it won't be a problem. So, the host should go out as soon as possible to complete missions, upgrade, treat illnesses, and find wealth. Tang Susu didn't want to rely too much on medicine, so she picked a long and thin machete and an electric baton from the warehouse. The machete was about 30 centimeters long and made of fine steel. There was a curved hook-shaped slanted blade at the head. It looked like the Grim Reaper's scythe, but a miniature version of it. It needed to be used close to the body. The handle was designed in an ergonomic way, and it was very comfortable to hold in the hand. It was also slightly heavy. Tang Susu didn't feel tired after waving her hand a few times, but she liked to be prepared for both eventualities. She also took out a retractable electric baton, which could cause some damage to the zombie's head. When he went out, he saw his family fiddling with the TV and cell phone in the living room. However, no matter how hard they tried, the result was the same. The internet and all communications have been cut off. The atmosphere suddenly turned gloomy. I wonder how the country will deal with this terrible disaster. The military will assist in the construction of the 4 major bases to take in the survivors. Tang Susu told them the best part. That's good, that's good. Mr. Tang was the most worried about the country and the people, so he relaxed after hearing this. But before that, let's go out and clean up the surroundings. Otherwise, we won't be able to live in peace. At the same time, we should get used to it as soon as possible. Time is tight, and the situation will only get more and more severe in the future. As she spoke, Tang Susu took out a training list that she had prepared earlier. This is the training plan that I've made. All of us have to participate. From today onwards, we must execute it with precision. Tang Mingqi took a look and exclaimed, Susu, are you training for the special forces? Even the special forces might not survive the apocalypse. Tang Mingzhou looked at it carefully and muttered, it's still not enough. Add a few more. Tang Mingchu was speechless. Not daring to waste any more time, everyone went to the warehouse and picked a weapon. Mr. Tang took out a long-handled axe and found a whetstone to sharpen the new axe. Having already chosen it last night, it was a prismatic captive knife that was similar to a bayonet with 3 sides. It could quickly lead air into the blood vessels to form a plug, which would cause brain circulation obstruction and kill the enemy quickly. Tang Mingqi's weapon was a black combat knife. Because he had learned combat for a period of time, he had an advantage over others. This knife could cut, stab, and slash, which was useful to him. Tang Mingzhou chose a crossbow that could be remotely controlled. It was also because he went to the shooting club to play with it from time to time, so his accuracy was good, and he was familiar with this weapon. Let's go out and take a look. Although Mrs. Tang was terrified of zombies, she still clenched the electric pitchfork that Mr. Tang had chosen for her. It could prevent zombies from getting close to her. Even if she couldn't kill any today, it would be good to train her courage. The family locked the gate of the villa and walked on the wide asphalt road. The zombies could only identify people by sound, so they walked very lightly. At around 8 in the morning, the sky was still dark, and the sun was hidden in the thick clouds. There was not a single person in sight, not even the sound of birds. The surroundings were so quiet that it made one's heart tighten. Be careful. There's one in front. Tang Mingqian exclaimed. Roar. A janitor, with half of his body in the trash can immediately raised his head. Its orange uniform was stained with blood, and there was a piece of rotten meat in its open mouth. There was a fruit knife in its eye, and black blood had solidified on its gray face. It roared and walked quickly toward them. This zombie has been here for a few days, so it's quite fast. You guys try your weapons, and then I'll blow its head off. Tang Susu took a few steps back and gave the stage to her 2 brothers, who were full of fighting spirit. Hee hee. Tang Mingchu slowly drew his saber from its sheath. Today is the day you die. However, before he could rush forward, a tall figure quickly passed by him, cut off the zombie's claws, and fought with it. Chapter 19. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Training begins. Tang Mingqi, that's cheating. Tang Mingchu said sourly. Don't you know that villains die from talking too much? Tang Mingqi had dealt with the slow zombie quite easily. Tang Susu watched her second brother's handsome figure walk around the zombies. A fighting knife broke through from every corner and stabbed a few holes in the zombie's body. Black blood spattered on his face. He seemed to be enduring the discomfort, and his handsome face was extremely tense. In comparison, the 18-year-old Tang Mingchu was completely playing with a big knife. He did not even touch a strand of the zombie's hair but was almost bitten by it. Be careful. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, he bounced up and jumped far away. Damn it. You scared me to death. Pfft, you ran off fast. Tang Susu couldn't help but laugh. Mr. Tang was so angry that he wanted to give him a good beating. Tang Mingchu, I dare you to be careless again. Behind you. He suddenly widened his eyes and anxiously reminded her. Look at your F*** king back. Tang Mingqi ran in front of him and slashed at the zombie that appeared behind him. However, the burly zombie dodged it, and the combat knife got stuck in its shoulder bone, unable to be pulled out. Damn it! At the same time, the four people on Tang Susu's side were also in a dangerous situation, because the sounds of fighting had attracted a few zombies. All of them were wearing suits and had the blue work pass of the real estate department hanging around their necks, but they were no longer as glorious as they were when they were alive. They bared their teeth as if they had been hungry for 3 months and rushed toward them. Big brother, back off. Subconsciously, Tang Susu stood in front of him and waved the machete in her right hand to block the zombies' attacks. His other hand quickly took out an electric baton and smashed it on their heads. Roar! The electric current sizzled and stunned their movements. She raised her knife and slashed downward, harvesting one zombie and earning 1 point. He turned around and slashed again, taking down another zombie. Then, he took the opportunity to quickly glance at the others. Third brother had already taken action and tacitly took down the zombie with second brother. Mrs. Tang squeaked and held the granny zombie back with her pitchfork. Mr. Tang was trapped, so he didn't force it. He stood behind the crowd, raised his bow, and shot an arrow into its eye. Tang Susu rushed up and slashed again. Another point. He swung his sore arm and came to the opposite side of Tang Mingqi and the others who were behind the male zombie, and sneaked an attack. It's over. Her light and indifferent voice was sweet and soft, but it was filled with killing intent among the corpses on the ground. Tang Mingqiu whistled and reached out to her. Give me candy. His voice seemed to be trembling. Tang Susu nodded. She dug around in her pocket and gave him the smallest one. Tang Mingqiu was speechless. The group of people went to Mr. Tang's side and used the last zombie as a sandbag to train. Although they were no longer human, it was still quite the test to stab a knife into the flesh of these people who were once human. But no one said no. Even Mrs. Tang volunteered to take Father Tang's long-handled axe, clenched her teeth, and cut the zombie in the chest. Blarg! Without even pulling it out, she ran to the side and retched. It was extremely foul. In addition to the strong stench of the zombie blood, the flesh and blood they ate also gave off a putrid odor. It was early summer, and the rotting smell made it hard to breathe. Tang Susu didn't say anything and cut off the zombie's head. Burn it, or it will pollute the air. The men dragged the bodies to a corner and piled them up. Then, they poured the gasoline she took out from her backpack on the bodies and set them on fire. Soon, a few more zombies came over. Here they come. The second wave of training has begun. Tang Mingqiu gripped his knife, his handsome eyes narrowing. With the previous experience, the few remained calm. After a round of practice, the zombies were finally killed by Tang Susu. Congratulations to the host for completing a B.level mandatory mission. You have been rewarded with 15 points. Before Tang Susu could celebrate the fact that the mission had been completed so easily, a gunshot suddenly rang out. Chapter 20. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The first big boss appears. Although Tsuade Lake Gardens was located in the suburbs, a 5A-grade natural scenic area was next to it. There were also many shopping malls and shops in the surrounding area, forming a small business district. However, with investment procurement still in progress, only a dozen or so shops were open. The family walked quickly to the gate of Tsuade Lake Garden and saw an Audi A6 hit a street lamp outside the giant metal gate. The front of the car was dented, and several zombies were crawling on it, scratching with their sharp claws. They looked like they were about to succeed. There were still groups of zombies coming from behind. The man in the car was livid and raised his gun to shoot again. Yu Cheng. Tang Mingzhou took a good look at who it was. He immediately raised his crossbow and shot at the zombie on the roof of the car. Whoosh! A rapid wind-breaking sound was heard. The zombie that was being aimed at sensed something and suddenly lowered its head. The arrow streaked across its scalp, almost killing it in one shot. He then jumped out of the car angrily and walked straight towards them. The man in the car noticed them and his eyes lit up. He quickly waved at them, signaling them to run. Tang Susu's expression was subtle. She had been trying her best to avoid the main characters, but she still ran into them. Open the door. She opened her lips slightly and didn't leave him in the lurch. This person was her big brother's friend and didn't belong to the female lead's camp, for the time being at least. If she offended him, it would be disadvantageous for her. There were about 7 or 8 zombies outside, and they were all middle-aged. Abnormally fierce, it was a little difficult for each person to deal with one. Yet, Mr. Tang still walked into the empty security room and found the button to open the door. Seeing the door slowly open, Yola was stunned for a moment, but she was touched. There were so many zombies, and they were terrified. Tang Mingqi was the first to rush out, and he did not hold back anymore, sparing no effort to chop the zombies' heads off. That was because a wave of zombies was coming from all directions. He had to hurry. Mr. Tang had gained some experience from his training and found that the back of the zombie's head was relatively fragile. He was extremely excited after successfully killing a zombie with one chop of his axe. He cooperated with Mother Tang, one of them holding the zombie in place while the other attacked from the side. Every time they ran out of energy or were ambushed by zombies, a sharp arrow would be shot from the air. Every time, it would accurately pierce through a zombie's eyes and skull. Tang Mingqiu was standing at the side and would occasionally help out. In this inevitable battle, he became more and more courageous as the battle progressed. He did not give Tang Susu a chance to make a move. Tang Susu was indeed tired from all the killing. She only pulled him back when he was red-eyed, in case he didn't care about anything. In others' eyes, she was being protected by her whole family with great difficulty. Not only did she not hide obediently, but she also followed the bloody path that the few of them had killed and ran towards him. Yu Qing furrowed her brows. This woman was starting to act like she always did. Seeing that the zombies around them were attracted away by them, Yu Qing was ready to get off the car and join the team that was killing the zombies to avoid her. Tang Susu suddenly disappeared from his sight. Yu Qing's heart skipped a beat. He knew how much the Tang family cared about Susu all these years. If anything happened to her. He pulled open the car door, only to see the other party suddenly stand up when he got out. A smile flashed in her eyes, making her look lively and playful. Prank. She was still in the mood to play pranks on him. Yu Qing was instantly furious. What the hell? Tang Susu's eyes flickered, but she couldn't be bothered with him. She followed the system's instructions and came to another zombie's corpse. She pulled off the gold chain on his neck, which was used by the rich heir. Oh ho ho! I'm rich! I'm rich! 008 shouted excitedly. There are 50 cents in the zombie's pocket next to it. Go get it, go get it. Tang Susu snapped. That's enough. Do you have to be so greedy? There's a bank across the street from the taxi. Go. There's a lot of money in there.